Good evening and thank you for joining us on India Business Hour. I'm Parikshit Luthra and here are the headlines we are tracking at this moment.
Prime Minister Modi, welcome back to the White House.
Prime Minister Modi and US President Joe Biden hold a bilateral meeting at the White House. President Biden says India and US can shape the course of the 21st century. Prime Minister Modi says the relationship with US is based on democratic values and thanks President Biden for the grand welcome. In a landmark defense deal, General Electric and Hindustan Aeronautics signed an MOU to make fighter jet engines for the Indian Air Force. US-based semiconductor major Micron will initially invest $875 million in Gujarat to set up a semiconductor testing and packaging facility. Turmoil at India's most valued startup. Deloitte resigns as the statutory order of Byju's immediate effect, cites long delay and lack of audit readiness of the FY22 financial statements. Byju's appoints BDO as new auditors. Sources say 3 directors have resigned from the board of Byju's over differences with Byju Ravindran. Only Byju Ravindran and Divya Gokulnath are left in the board. Byju's terms the news as speculative. Stock markets wobble across the world after US Fed Chair Jerome Powell hints at more rate hikes. Sensex drops over 350 points. Nifty loses over 80 points. Mid-cap index snaps a 8-day gaining streak. The minutes of the last monetary policy meeting pours cold water on any rate cut hopes. All 3 RBI members and 2 external members in the committee sound caution on inflation and want to move towards 4%. Only Ashima Goel says the panel should not allow real rates to go too high. Lupin's Nilesh Gupta expects sales worth $200 million from the new respiratory drug approved by the US regulator. Projects sales in US to hit $850 million by FY25. Also adds that Lupin is doubling down on the Indian market as well. That's an exclusive. Top European drug regulator red flags compliance standards at Indian pharma companies. Says the levels of compliance have not changed in the last few years. Delhi police arrest a man from Bihar for allegedly leaking data from CoWIN, the government's COVID-19 vaccination portal. The accused allegedly created a bot on messaging app Telegram, which shared sensitive data of citizens. The flood situation worsens in Assam. Nearly 1.2 lakh people across 20 districts are affected. Met Department warns of extremely heavy rainfall over the next few days. More equipment arrives as rescue teams race against time to find the missing Titanic submersible with 5 people on board. Oxygen supply likely to run out in a few hours. 2 of the world's high-profile tech billionaires agree to fight each other in a cage match. Mark Zuckerberg accepts a challenge from Elon Musk after he tweeted saying he was up for a cage fight.
The United States is honoring and hosting an official visit to the Republic of India. Prime Minister Modi, welcome back to the White House.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi was accorded a 19-gun salute at the lawns of the White House on the 3rd day of his US visit. Both Prime Minister Modi and President Biden, in their brief addresses, invoked the democratic values of the 2 nations and vowed to work together for global good, world peace and stability. Prime Minister Modi said that both India and the United States are committed to working together for world peace. President Biden said the decisions made by the 2 nations will have an impact on the future for decades to come.
उस कोविड काल में वर्ल्ड ऑर्डर एक नया रूप ले रहा है। इस कालखंड में भारत और अमेरिका की मित्रता पूरे विश्व के सामर्थ्य को बढ़ाने में पूरक होगी। ग्लोबल गुड के लिए वैश्विक शांति, स्थिरता और समृद्धि के लिए दोनों देश साथ मिलकर काम करने के लिए प्रतिबद्ध है। हमारी मजबूत स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप डेमोक्रेसी की ताकत का स्पष्ट प्रमाण है।
I'm honored to be the first to have you here in 15 years. The United States is honoring and hosting an official visit for the Republic of India. Prime Minister Modi, welcome back to the White House. Since I've become president, we've continued a relationship built on mutual trust, candor, and respect. The challenges and opportunities facing the world in this century require that India and the United States work and lead together, and we are.
अब से कुछ ही देर में राष्ट्रपति बाइडेन और मैं भारत अमेरिका संबंधों और अन्य क्षेत्रीय और वैश्विक मुद्दों पर विस्तार से बातचीत करेंगे। मुझे विश्वास है कि हमेशा की तरह आज भी हमारी बातचीत बहुत सकारात्मक और उपयोगी रहेगी। आज दोपहर को मुझे यूएस कांग्रेस को एक बार फिर से संबोधित करने का अवसर मिलेगा। इस सम्मान के लिए मैं आपका हृदय से आभारी हूं।
And as democracies, we can better tap into the full talent of all of our people and attract investments as true and trusted partners as leading nations, with our greatest export being the power of our example. Equity under the law, freedom of expression, religious pluralism, and diversity of our people. These core principles have endured and evolved even as they have faced challenges throughout each of our nation's histories, and will fuel our strength, depth, and future.
India and the United States have taken a major step to strengthen the defense partnership. General Electric will join hands with Hindustan Aeronautics to make fighter jet engines for the Indian Air Force. US semiconductor Micron Technology will build a chip testing and packaging facility in Gujarat. Here's a report. After spending a day in New York, Prime Minister Modi arrived in Washington for the business leg of his landmark state visit. US President Joe Biden, along with the First Lady, welcomed the Prime Minister to the White House. Prime Minister Modi is the third world leader after French President Macron and South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol to be invited on a state visit by the Biden administration. The Prime Minister presented an array of gifts to the Bidens, including a sandalwood box, a silver idol of Lord Ganesha, and a diya. A first edition print of the book, The 10 Principal Upanishads, along with a lab-grown 7.5-carat green diamond. The Bidens gifted Prime Minister Modi an antique American book gallery, a vintage camera, a wildlife photography book, and the first edition of copy of Robert Frost's poems.
जहां एक और अमेरिका के पास उच्च कोटि के शिक्षण संस्थान है, एडवांस टेक्नोलॉजीज है, वहीं भारत के पास विश्व की सबसे बड़ी युवा फैक्ट्री है। और इसलिए मुझे विश्वास है कि भारत और अमेरिका की साझेदारी सस्टेनेबल और इंक्लूसिव ग्लोबल ग्रोथ का इंजन साबित होगी।
In a big boost to India's defense sector, Hindustan Aeronautics has signed a deal with GE Aerospace to co-produce fighter jet engines. The Memorandum of Understanding includes joint production of GE Aerospace's F414 engines in India. Sources have told CNBC-TV18 that the deal could entail 80% transfer of jet engine technology to HAL by value. From defense to semiconductors, Micron Technology will invest $875 million in Gujarat to set up a semiconductor testing and packaging facility. Micron expects to begin construction this year and make the facility operational by 2024. Micron will receive 50% fiscal support from the central government.
Had an excellent meeting with Prime Minister Modi. Very impressed with the vision that he has for India and the advances that India is making. We discussed a wide range of topics, and we really look forward to greater opportunities in India.
Prime Minister Modi will meet more US CEOs tomorrow, including Sundar Pichai of Alphabet, Andy Jassy of Amazon, David Callan of Boeing as well. Recently, Air India signed a multi-billion-dollar aircraft deal with Boeing. The Bidens will also be hosting a state dinner for the Prime Minister. The who's who of American politics, top Hollywood celebrities and members of the Indian diaspora will be in attendance. The specially curated dinner menu will include plant-based millet courses, stuffed mushrooms, risottos and the option of fish. Prime Minister Modi is scheduled to address a joint session of the US Congress later tonight. In a speech that is scheduled for 40 minutes, Prime Minister is expected to outline the role of India and the United States in the Indo-Pacific, economic reforms and India's growth potential. Bureau Report, CNBC TV18. All right, we'll continue tracking the Prime Minister's state visit to the United States. Lots of deliverables. We'll hear more on AI, on 5G, 6G, Open RAN and semiconductors in the next 24 to 48 hours. But let's shift focus to India's startup sector. And there's more trouble for India's most valued startup, Byju's. Deloitte has resigned as the EdTech major's statutory auditor. The reason, Deloitte said, was due to a long delay and lack of audit readiness of the FY22 financial statements. Remember, Byju's is yet to report their FY22 numbers. That's not all. 3 board directors of Byju's have also tendered in their resignations due to differences with Byju Ravindran. This leaves only Riju Ravindran, Byju Ravindran and Divya Gokulnath on the board. In fact, a few months back, the Enforcement Directorate had conducted searches at 2 of Byju's business premises and 1 residential property of Byju Ravindran for alleged violations under the Foreign Exchange Management Act. The ED had said that over 28,000 crore rupees in FDI was under the scanner. Shruti Mishra and Aishwarya Anand are joining us with the latest. Let me go across to Shruti first. Shruti, clearly more trouble for Byju's. What's next?
That's right. It seems to be a string of setbacks for Byju's. Deloitte has stepped down as auditor and Byju's has appointed BDO MSK Associates as auditor to strengthen governance. But what's important is what Deloitte has said in an email that CNBC-TV18 has exclusively accessed. And I quote, "The financial statements of the company for the year ended March 31st, 2022 are long delayed. We've also not received any communication on the resolution of the audit report modifications in respect of the year ended March 31st, 2021. Status of audit readiness of the financial statements and the underlying books and records for the year ended March 31st, 2022, and we've not been able to commence the audit as on date. As a result, there'll be significant impact on our ability to plan, design, perform, and complete the audit in accordance with the applicable auditing standards." End of quote. Now, remember, Deloitte had refused to sign off the company's financials of FY21, citing many red flags, especially on the company's revenue recognition practices, weak controls, poor financials of White Hat Junior, and a bloated ESOP program. Now, you'll remember in April, the Enforcement Directorate conducted searches on parent company Think and Learn Private Limited and found that it received FDI to the tune of about 28,000 crore rupees during 2011 to 2023. The company also remitted about 9,754 crore rupees to various foreign jurisdictions during the same period in the name of overseas direct investment. ED also flagged the fact that the company has not prepared its financial statements since the financial year 2020 to 2021 and has not got the accounts audited, which is mandatory. Now, in our many interactions over the last few months with Byju's, the company has maintained that it's working to finalize its audited financial results and FY22 numbers should be out soon. Well, now with Deloitte's exit, the jury is out if and when we can expect financials from Byju's. With that, it's back to you.
All right. Thanks very much, Shruti, for joining us. Aishwarya, let me come to you. 3 members have resigned from the board. What are you really picking up?
That's right, in a big development, 3 directors of edtech giant Byju have resigned from the company's board over how the business was being run at the firm. Sources have told CNBC-TV18 that the 3 directors who have resigned are GV Ravishankar of Peak XV, erstwhile Sequoia Capital India, Vivian Wu of Chan Zuckerberg Initiative and Russell Stock of Process. Shareholder sources have also told CNBC-TV18 that differences between the management and the board members had been building up over time and there was no immediate trigger for the resignation. When CNBC-TV18 reached out to Peak XV, they refused to comment on the development. Process too refused to offer any comments. Chan Zuckerberg Initiative is yet to respond to the development. However, Byju has refuted this story and in a statement issued to CNBC-TV18 said, media reports suggesting the resignations of board members from Byju is entirely speculative. Byju firmly denies. The company has also called it baseless and that if there are such developments or changes, the company will share it through official channels. Byju's board comprises Byju Ravindran, Divya Gokulnath, Riju Ravindran, Deepta AR, GV Ravishankar of Peak XV, Vivian Wu of Chan Zuckerberg Initiative and Russell Stock of Process. Now, the resignation has also come a day after Byju sacked 1,000 employees in its second big round of layoffs to conserve costs as its tussle with lenders continues.
All right, Shruti and Aishwarya, thank you very much for joining us. And Byju Ravindran had spoken to CNBC-TV18's managing editor Shireen Bhan in January this year from Davos. He admitted to making mistakes, but also added that Byju does not regret scaling up fast.
I don't regret the scaling this fast, but because first 5 years that, like, in a new segment, it's required. We have made mistakes, but there's always an intent to correct it. It's because at the end of the day, we are not building this to get an exit and make a lot of money. There's not a single top-level exit in the last 12 months, even with so much noise. There's not a single investor who have actually taken an exit.
You know, you said that you're here to build an institution over the next 30, 40 years. You're not here looking to exit. There's been a lot of conversation and a lot of talk around the fact that you're in the market to buy back. Is that true?
The team is right. That in terms of increasing ownership, and that's aligned with how will you run something for next 20, 30 years. You need to have, it's not just about having contractual rights, like having more skin in the game than anyone else is important. If you are just building this for next 5 years, get an exit and do something else, maybe not, right? Like it's by increasing the ownership, it's not that I'm getting additional rights.
All right, we'll keep track of that story for you. North to the stock market, Sensex lost over 350 points and Nifty slips over 80 points as stocks stumbled across the world. U.S. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell hinted at further rate hikes as he testified before U.S. lawmakers. This rattled markets across the world. The Nifty mid-cap index also snapped an 8-day gaining streak. Ratings agency Fitch has raised India's GDP forecast from 6% to 6.3% for FY24. The agency has said that the revision in its estimates is due to strong near-term momentum in the first quarter and robust credit growth. The minutes of the last monetary policy meeting has poured cold water on any rate cut hopes. All 3 RBI members and 2 external members in the committee have sounded caution on inflation and want to move towards 4%. Only Ashima Goel has said that the panel should not allow real rates to go too high.
I'm not saying that I want a cut and by the next policy. I'm just saying that we have to be careful that we don't let the real rate rise. So it depends on the data coming in, especially there's a lot of uncertainty about the monsoon and what the data says for our inflation projections.
I think, one should be a little more balanced about these things. That inflation will go down, will go up. And what is important is the longer-term trajectory. That it comes down, and only when it comes down on a sustained basis, close to 4%, should you really be declaring success.
I think a forecast which shows, steady decline in the inflation rate to 4% or close to 4% is what I think is necessary. So I think this sort of sustained direction of this inflation rate is what I think we should see.
And time for a short break, but coming up, the flood situation worsens in Assam. Nearly 5 lakh people across districts are affected. More details when we are back. day after receiving US regulators' approval for its respiratory drug G-Spiriva, Lupin Managing Director Nilesh Gupta told CNBC-TV18 exclusively that they are hoping to launch the medicine by the next quarter. Lupin is the first generic drug company to receive US FDA's nod for the drug. Gupta said that they were eyeing a quarterly sales of $200 million in America.
We've seen a lot of approvals on injectables, clearly more to be done there. India, obviously we're doubling down. We added 1,000 people. We're going to keep adding and we're going to keep growing in India, and then definitely restart innovation at some point.
And staying with the pharma space, Europe's drug regulator has flagged compliance concerns at Indian pharma plants. Speaking to CNBC-TV18, Thomas Hecker of the European Directorate for the Quality of Medicines has said that compliance levels in Indian plants remain poor even after the pandemic.
All the regulators were quite curious to see whether or not the compliance level of companies had changed over the lockdown period, the pandemic, and also the travel restrictions. But I've performed about 8 inspections now post-pandemic, and the observations we have made were more or less the same as we have seen pre-pandemic. Over the course of the last 15 years, ever since I'm doing inspections here in India, facilities, equipment, buildings got better in terms of compliance with GMP, but now we were focusing on the quality management system of the companies, a robust, strong management system that really ensures the quality of medicines, and this is where we were focusing on.
The flood situation in Assam is grim. As per the State Disaster Management Authority, nearly 5 lakh people in 1,366 villages across multiple districts have been impacted. The Met Department has warned of extremely heavy rainfall over the next few days. CN News 18's Preeti Priyadarshini filed this report.
The SDRF team is working relentlessly in order to save the people from the first wave of Assam flood. You see, this is the destruction that the flood has done to the people. I'm trying to show you the visuals. If we can show how the houses are completely inundated underwater. अभी तक कितने सारे लोगों को सुबह से आपने यहाँ इस इलाके में रेस्क्यू किया है?
मिनिमम 100 people हो गया, अभी तक रेस्क्यू हो गया, और अभी सारा आदमी फंसा रहा है वो इधर।
अंदर सिचुएशन कैसा है, क्योंकि आप लोग बहुत करीब से देख पा रहे हैं, तो कंडीशन कैसा है? बहुत मैंने देखा है बहुत सारे गांव में बहुत सारे लोग इससे प्रभावित है इस बार बाढ़ से।
वो कंडीशन तो बहुत तो खतरा है। वो जो इधर वाला इलाका है ना, जो बीच में बहुत आदमी फंसा रहा है, बहुत डेंजरस सिचुएशन में उन लोगों को फंसा रहा है। कंडीशन अच्छा नहीं है।
There are 3 rivers currently flowing over the danger level in Assam, and this is the first wave of Assam flood which has affected over 1 lakh people. And here in Nalbari itself, 45,000 people, over 45,000 people have been affected. In Lakhimpur, over 35,000 people have been affected, and also in other places there are a lot of people who have been affected by the first wave of Assam flood. However, there are still dark clouds in the sky, so the forecast says that there will still be rain in the upcoming week, which will only worsen the condition of flood in the state.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Business Hour. Thank you for watching. News continues right here on CNBC-TV18.